here's a video on the midpoint formula. You'll use the midpoint formula a lot with triangles and rectangles, and just sometimes you'll just have to find the midpoint of a line segment. The midpoint formula is pretty simple. All you do is you add the x's together and then you divide by 2. You add the y's together and you divide by 2. Your answer will be written as a point. So watch how easy. Alright, here's my x's. So if I'm going to find the midpoint of each of these. Alright, let me write that down. I'm doing the midpoint. Alright, so the midpoint, I'm going to go -4 plus 5 divided by 2. That's my x's. And then my y's, I have 4 and -1. So I go 4 plus -1 divided by 2. Okay, and if I do this math, -4 plus 5 is 1. And we can leave our number as a fraction. 4 plus -1 is 3. So we'll just leave this as a fraction as well. 3 over 2. And that would be the midpoint of, that would be, if this was a line segment, this is where the middle would be, the midpoint. Alright, so here we have -1 plus -6. See, there's my x's. Divided by 2. My y's, -6 and 5. So -6 plus 5 divided by 2. -1 plus -6 is -7. So I'd have -7 over 2. And here, -6 plus 5 is -1. -1 over 2, or -1/2. That would be the midpoint. Last one. Let's add these x's. -4 plus -2 divided by 2. Let's add our y's. 4 plus 2 divided by 2. Okay. -4 plus -2 is -6. -6 divided by 2 is -3. 4 plus 2 is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So that's all there is to finding the midpoint. Sometimes you'll be given a graph. Now, the best way to do this, I think, is just to plot the points. This right here is at -1, 2, 3, and up 1. So here I'm at -3, 1. And here I came over 1, and I went down 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm at 1, -4. Now just follow the formula. -3 plus 1, my x's, divided by 2. 1 plus -4 divided by 2. Alright, so -3 plus 1 is -2, and -2 divided by 2 is -1. 1 plus -4 is -3, and -3 divided by 2 is the same as just saying -3 over 2. So that would be the midpoint, which if we look at that real quick, -1 and -3 over 2 hits right there. That is the midpoint. Here's another graph. Let's just plot the points. I think it's the easiest way. 1, 2, 3, 4, -4. I went down 1. This is at -1, +4. Okay, now let's add the x's together. -4 plus -1 divided by 2. Do the y's. -1 plus 4 divided by 2. Alright. -4 plus 1 is -5. That'd be -5 over 2. And negative 1 plus 4 is 3, and that would be 3 over 2. That would be the midpoint. Let me show you one more thing. Sometimes when we're working with endpoints and midpoints, they're going to give you the endpoint and tell you what the midpoint is and ask you to find the other point. Here's the best way to do it. Just do it one at a time. If this is the endpoint, and this x, I went from negative 1 down to negative 9, I went down 8. Okay, I went down 8. Sorry about that, 8. Now all I do is go down 8 more. Okay, so if I have 9, let me do it right here. Negative 9 minus 8, I would be at negative 17. So the other point would be, the x would be negative 17. And the y's, I went from 9 down to negative 10. So I went down, let me show you, from 9, I went down to negative 10. I went down 19. So if I go down 19 more, I'm now at negative 29. And that's where the other point would be. So just find how much the x changes and how much the y changes to get to the midpoint, and then do the same change. Here, to get from 2 to 5, I went up 3. So 5 and 3 more would be 8. Here I went from 5 down to 1. If I go down 4 more, I'm at negative 3. That's where the other point would be. See how that works? To go from 5 down to negative 10, I went down 15. If I go down 15 more, I'm now at negative 25. To get from 2 to negative 2, I went down 4. If I go down 4 more, I'm at negative 6. So that's how you would find the other point in this case. Alright, so extra credit. For 1 and 2, I want you to find the midpoint of each of these line segments. For 3 and 4, same thing. Tell me where the midpoint would be between these points. And for 5 and 6, you have the end point and the midpoint. I want you to tell me where the other end point would be. Show all your math and all your work for these. Don't just turn in the answers. Turn this in to Mr. Riddle and get your extra credit.